Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Degenerates and reprobates, welcome to episode number 191 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 1984. My name is Arya, and joining me as always today on this very fun program is the Hunter Q. Robbins III to my Bill Alfonso. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell are you doing tonight?
If you blow that fucking whistle during a match one more goddamn time, I'm gonna make you eat it.
Well, if you could stop being, a pompous ass, we would also appreciate that.
Hey, I brought Sabu into ECW.
For like 5 minutes until
R.I.P.
Paulie
Sabu.
stole him from you. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I brought up Hunter Q. Robbins III and Bill Alfonso, because I didn't want to insult you by calling you Paulie dangerously. So Sabu passed away yesterday as we're recording this. You want to share any thoughts about him?
Ben and I talked about this on the Oh My God cast a couple of months ago because we've just gotten into the early Sabu period of ECW. He was just okay. I did not experience Sabu in real time the way that people were fans in the early and mid 90s did. Just reading about people's reactions to him is so incredible. I will never forget. I think in like 1995, Uncle Dave wrote that Sabu was a better working than Bret Hart.
Which is crazy if you think about it.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
I guarantee nobody, including Dave Meltzer in 2025, with all due love and respect to Sabu, thinks that about Sabu.
Yeah, Sabu just had such an incredible aura. Someone
Yeah.
on Twitter pointed out that he was the last wrestling magazine sensation. He was the last guy that you heard about in the magazines, and it just sounded so incredible, and you just like couldn't imagine what it was like and couldn't wait to see this guy live.
Yeah. Um, I like for at least a year, I remember seeing articles in PWI and the Wrestler and Inside Wrestling all the time about this Sabu guy. And, I'm 9, 10, 11 years old, and he's just fucking looking insane. And this is PWI, so they're not like publishing crazy Japanese explosive, match, pictures. But, they're still showing him moonsaulting through tables. They're showing him, wrapped in barbed wire. They're showing him just being an insane human being. And honestly, and I just thought about this now while we were talking, because I always thought my introduction to Sabu was 96 when we got Sports Channel Philadelphia and ECW started airing here, where I lived at the time. My introduction was actually when he was on Nitro.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was in WCW for like 6 weeks.
Hmm.
And that was the story Sabu told, and I think this was in the Jeremy Borash ECW documentary, Forever Hardcore.
Forever
Um,
Hardcore, yeah.
yeah. So they wanted him to do the first Nitro, but he was booked already that night. So Kevin Sullivan asked him how much did he want to do the second Nitro, and Sabu just threw out a number. I think he said it was $500. And he's like, okay. Well, Sabu then got $500 for every shot he did. And that led to some griping because he wanted a real contract and a real amount. And Bischoff was basically like, no, you agreed to $500. And so that relationship did not last very long. And he was back in ECW at the November to Remember in '95. What I thought was a nice touch, and I know you'll get 2 years into ECW's future in about 10 years. Um, but um, sorry, now I'm just talking. Can you hear me now, Trey? Of course not. All right, so we're going to press pause here in the middle of Sabu talk. We're going to press pause and come back. And we're back. Um,
All right.
so we were in the middle of talking about Sabu, but then we had some tech issues. Trey, you want to rant about your computer or Zoom?
It's- it's weird. I don't understand Zoom in particular. It's like the only program. It makes my computer have a stroke, and I don't know why. I have my computer is 1 year old. Everything else I do on it runs pretty great, and Zoom just gives it fucking epilepsy or something.
That is really fucking weird.
Yeah,
Hopefully it takes its epilepsy medication here for the next hour or so. So in the
yeah.
middle of talking about Sabu going back to ECW in '95, and I was in the middle of making a joke about how you two will get to the '95 November to Remember in about 5 years over on the Oh My God cast.
Oh,
Um,
it's ripping on the
uh,
square.
yes. So I always thought it was kind of neat, and I know he did it on purpose, and that was kind of the point. But so everyone knows Sabu got fired in April because he was booked in Japan. He was double booked and he chose the Japan date over the ECW date. And so Paulie fired him. And in a famous moment that he went out in front of the audience and announced that Sabu was fired for no showing the event and yada, yada, yada. So then fast forward to October, where the day before my birthday was the famous moment when Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and Raven set the fan on fire. This was more
Oh,
Terry Funk set the
yeah.
fan on fire than anything else. So the next show, the November to Remember, started, and Paulie came out in the same suit he wore during the three-way dance when he fired Sabu, and said, "As an apology, we're going to rewind to before that happened. They're going to turn the lights off, but not to panic because they're not going to light anybody on fire." And when the lights came back on, there was Sabu. And
Yeah, cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm aware of the first thing. By the way, was that the fan getting set on fire? Was that the one that Mick wrote about the hearing for in Foley is Good and it was the funniest
yeah,
fucking thing ever?
yes, that Kerry didn't really call Bischoff a homo.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, my family, my dad and my 22-year-old nephew came down to visit over the weekend. As I've noted, we just bought a house and we had a couple of things that were kind of above my pay grade. That my nephew is an apprentice electrician, so he came
Hmm.
down to help with some stuff. And anyway, he made it Saturday. This was Saturday. He made some kind of reference to like getting cut at work and just super gluing it shut. And so I was telling him about this wrestler who would get cut open by barbed wire and just fucking super glue the wound shut. And then next day we got the news that Sabu has passed away.
So it's your fault. If you wouldn't have brought that up,
Oh.
Sabu may still be with us.
Did you see fucking Joey Nutella dipshit talking about that match that they just had and how Sabu was all fucked up and really should have been in the ring, but it's fucking GCW, so of course he was.
I did not see that, but I believe it
I
because, I
don't
mean,
even.
I've told the story, and I may not have said it here, but I've told the story that like Sabu came to the ring in his suit, and like you could tell he did not want to wrestle. Like he was giving all the body language in the world, like waving the match off. And like I remember even saying out loud, I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to wrestle. And eventually he just attacked Janela and, did the match that happened. But yeah, it was like I legitimately didn't even think the match was going to happen, like I said, and it did. Um, and I know I joked about a month ago on this show that you can only see Sabu's last match 5 or 6 times. But it was an honor to have seen his last match.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a rant about what a fucking embarrassment of a wrestling company GCW is. So
Hmm.
just move. I don't think I ever saw a Sabu match in person, but I did. It was at the Mercury Rising show, WrestleMania weekend 2016. There was they did a little angle where Mick Foley and Sabu came out to honor Terry Funk, and they ended up doing a little thing where they beat up some geeks, and I think Sabu yeeted a chair into somebody's face.
Whichever WrestleCon Super Show was RVD and Sabu versus the Hardys, I was at that one. Um, I was actually, yeah, I think that was 2015 because I was at the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame ran long and I got back to the hotel and I was staying at the WrestleCon hotel and I ran over and I got there just in time for the main event, which was the Van Dam and Sabu versus Hardy Boys match. And like it was exactly what you expect from Rob Van Dam and Sabu versus the Hardys in 2015, but it was like everything you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because I just remember what my first live Sabu match was. Because even though I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania, I sure as hell wasn't ever going to be allowed to go to an ECW show for many reasons, at least of which was I was a child and could not drive myself, to any place that ECW was running a show. But anyway, my first Sabu live match was the SmackDown after SummerSlam 2006. So well, I guess it was the WWE ECW after SummerSlam 2006. They did a rematch with Big Show and Sabu, and Big Show won by disqualification because Sabu put him through a table.
I mean, if you're gonna disqualify Sabu for putting somebody through a table, what the fuck? That's just not
Yeah,
even that's not sporting.
yeah. Um, and you remember all the stories of like, um, Vince wanted Sabu for the '96 Royal Rumble. He had negotiated with Paul, and they came up with a little thing where like Sabu would come out with a table, and he wouldn't be eliminated per se. He would eliminate somebody else by putting them through a table, and that would be putting him over the top rope where he would be eliminated as well. And I guess Paulie talked him out of it. Even though Paulie was negotiating a deal and basically agreed to it, Paulie then talked Sabu out of it by saying he's trying to keep everyone fresh for their pay-per-view debut to be in ECW
And that's like the third worst thing Paulie ever did to Sabu.
that year, probably. Um,
The one that
uh,
I remembered that I knew this and I hadn't really thought about it, but somebody brought it up to me. In 2000. Uh, Sabu there was some guy he had a deal with WCW. He had signed, and
yep,
Paulie was not using him, had not used him, but still technically had him under some kind of deal, and
yep,
like went to court to block the thing. Literally, like it accomplished nothing but fucking over Sabu.
yeah. That was a whole big thing where WCW was going to bring him in like February 2000. It was after Russo left the first time, and Paul, keep in mind that all the people Paul let out of their contracts with thanks to a check from WCW, the one that he refused to let out was Sabu. And then, do you know the story about what ended up being Sabu's last booking in ECW?
What was that?
So a few weeks after all that court situation, they were doing the TV title tournament when Van Dam broke his ankle. And I forget who Super Crazy was wrestling. I think it was Guido. It doesn't matter. Super Crazy was wrestling somebody. And Paulie booked Sabu for the show. And keep in mind, this is Paul E and ECW. Like, there were no written scripts. Like, the shows weren't usually booked until Paul E showed up 30 minutes before the show started. That kind of thing. Paul E had a written script where in this match where Super Crazy was supposed to wrestle somebody, that Sabu would come out and it would become a three-way dance, and then Super Crazy would pin him clean. And so when
Okay.
Sabu, because everyone knew Sabu was not going to agree to do that, when Sabu, refused to do it, this was Paulie's, well, you just violated your contract, yada, 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 and could send him home without pay and somehow legally keep him from going to another company.
I feel like if it was a if you could write it in to a wrestling contract that refusing creative constitutes a breach of contract, I feel like that would greatly change the power dynamics in wrestling today.
Oh, yeah. Like WCW may still be in business because they could have saved a whole shit ton of money by people refusing to do creative.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
Um,
so just
but
to
yeah,
kind of sum up Sabu, I guess you can make a lot of criticisms of Sabu as a worker and of Terry Brunk as a person. But you have to say that he was unique, okay? There had never been anything like Sabu before, and there will never be again.
yeah. And here's the problem. And I was thinking about this when Sabu died. I was actually thinking about it a few weeks ago. You know, the number of people who Sabu inspired. Joey Janela,
Hmm.
the whole story of the match with Sabu, the barbed wire match, was like Sabu. Joey Janela idolized Sabu, and so he wanted this match with Sabu as his retirement match, yada yada yada. And it's like, do you, I don't want to say are people too young to remember this? I mean, it's been 20 years, I guess. But 20 years ago, there was real concern that Sabu may not be able to walk anymore, and they were constantly having fundraisers to pay his hospital bills because he was so injured from all the shit he did. And I know that this is an every generation thing that, this generation won't listen to the warnings of the prior generation, et cetera, until it's too late. But it's like Sabu was fucked up. Mick Foley is fucked up. All these people who, like, I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's the entire roster, but like the people you think of when you think of Game Changer Wrestling, these are the people that modeling their careers after people like Mick Foley and Sabu without realizing that, let's be honest, half like fucking a lot of the shit they're doing, Mick Foley and Sabu never did to begin with. And B, the shit that they did do, their fucking bodies were wrecked, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Like to the best of my knowledge, Mick Foley never bumped through a dozen light tubes, you know?
I don't think he did light tubes.
Yeah,
He did
I'm pretty sure he
nails. He
did.
did thumbtacks. He did nails. I don't think he did
Yeah.
light
And I'm not
tubes.
saying light tubes are ever necessarily any better, but it's like in your effort to one up two of the craziest motherfuckers of all time, you're not
Yeah.
looking at the fucking consequences. And yes, just because I don't I and I apologize if I'm outing somebody who never does this, but just because maybe Matt Tremont in 30 years will somehow still have a good, healthy life, and not be living every day in excruciating pain and having all these brain issues from concussions, doesn't mean everybody will be so lucky, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
And
all right, think about like Verne Gagne, who worked a very like he was an amateur wrestler. He worked a very technical wrestling oriented style.
Yes.
He still ended up with like severe dementia because just regular bump taking over the course of a wrestling career turns your brain into fucking mashed potatoes.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I'll be perfectly honest. At no point did my head ever touch the mat in when I was failing at trying to become a wrestler. But that honestly, more so than falling on my back, hitting my head off the mat was a far bigger concern to me than anything else,
Yeah.
you know? And that's like, honestly, that probably did more than anything else to keep me from ever bumping because I'm like, I like, I'm so worried about hitting my head that even though I'm tucking my chin, the whiplash effect and all that shit, it's like, that's part of the reason why I always have my hair in a tight ponytail, because if I did manage to take a bump, well, it'll hit off the knot in the back of my head, in theory protecting me. But, like I think about my brother who, you know, my brother has never taken a bump in his life and he has neurological issues. And he turns 39 the day after we're recording this. Today, the day the show's airing, my brother turns 39, and he has neurological issues. And, that has me thinking in the back of my mind that, hey, it might run in the family. And again, neither him nor I were big, super athletic people.
Hey, I have chronic back pain at 37, and I have never taken a bump either.
Yeah. It's like, you know, do you really want to risk, not being able to walk when you're older, not being able to like remember your life when you're older? Like, you know,
It's my greatest
somewhere Mick
fear.
Fo yeah, somewhere Mick Foley was like, it was scary how good his memory was when he was writing his first book. And I honestly, I would bet you go take Mick Foley a copy of his first book and have him read it and ask him how much of that shit he now remembers. It would be sad how little of it I bet he'd remember.
Yeah, I really loved Mick's short-lived podcast with Conrad Thompson. Very, very bummed that it didn't last. But like there were times that he would just like sometimes he had incredible recall of specific incidents, and then sometimes like they would watch something and he go, "Yeah, I don't remember that at all."
Yeah. Like watching that Dark Side of the Ring with over the Hell in the Cell. Did you watch that?
I have not watched the season of Dark Side of the Ring yet. I need to catch up on that.
I haven't. Um, Gorgo one. Uh, I'm behind on that one myself. But the last 20 minutes or so, when Mick, and Noel is on and Colette is on, and they're talking about issues Mick has, like he's driving home and in the middle of driving home, he forgets how to drive home. Like
Well, it well
that
there was
is
the
that is
thing.
fucked up.
Yeah, well, there was the thing that a couple of years ago he said that he wanted to do one more match like for his 60th birthday, and then
Yeah.
he fucking got a concussion. I think he got a concussion doing cardio, didn't he? Am I remembering that right?
I forget if it was during cardio, but he definitely got a concussion. Yeah. And it's like
Like from just
he
something
is,
innocuous.
yeah, he's what, 58, 59 right now?
Yeah, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Like he's not old, people. He retired, like there's a reason he retired when he was 34. Like, you know, who the hell like who the hell retires when you're 34 when you are making that kind of bank? Because like he was one of the top stars in the company during the hottest period in company history. And to get to that point, he fucked up his body so much that he could not go any longer.
Yeah. And it I mean, all of these things you say are 100% true, and what is also true is that like Mick Foley was probably the first person that made me really, really like fall in love with pro wrestling. Just because
Yeah,
the emotion and the storytelling was so compelling. So
yeah,
you gotta it's just part of it. It's an intrinsic risk of this medium existing.
yeah.
And
And it, yeah, go ahead.
there's no way to make it not a risk, but I think because of that, it becomes even more of an imperative to make sure that these wrestlers should be treated better than they have been historically. And it's
I, I'll admit, as a fan, I look at myself as part of the problem because, and I hate to really link him into this, although I think the comparison is going to work here. The incident with Benoit is what like snapped me out of it. Like it suddenly occurred to me that these are very real people doing very real damage to their heads. And no, everyone's not going to go out and kill, their wife and their son. But my point is, it's like, look at all the shit Benoit, all the damage Benoit took to his head. Like, um,
Mhm.
he had that ladder match with Jericho where he did a suicide dive through the ropes and Jericho cracked him in the head on the way through. He did that match with Booker T where he did a suicide dive and like almost turned ass over tea kettle landing on his head on the announce table. Um,
Yeah. And I
and
mean, even beyond the particularly crazy stuff, like he just worked such a impactful, bump heavy style that
yeah,
sure as shit didn't help matters.
and shit like that. I'll be honest, like I used to love watching and rewatching the TLC matches, the Triangle Ladder matches, the I Quit matches, the fucking and these matches I've been watching a long ass time. I'm gonna have to in the next few weeks. The Slamboree and Spring Stampede matches in '94 with the Nasty Boys versus Cactus Jack. I loved those
Yeah.
two matches growing up, and I don't think I've seen them in over 10 years. So I'm honestly kind of afraid to watch them because I don't want to be sitting here trying to enjoy it and writing my book and going, okay, there's a concussion, there's a concussion, there's a concussion, there's Brian Knobbs stiffing people in the head with shit, there's a broken whatever, you know,
The
and
other day, my nephew was installing a new ceiling fan in our living room. So he was standing on top of like a 10-foot ladder. And my wife, she's kind of seeing how high she was, goes, when they do those wrestling matches and they fall off ladders, how do they not get hurt? And I said, they fucking do.
I I immediately thought of JR saying, "How do you learn to fall off a 20-foot ladder?"
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I
And
remember the first time I ever saw somebody just like straight on headbutt somebody in the face. I think it was the last time Hiroki Goto challenged Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight title. I was like, that's the coolest, most badass fucking thing I've ever seen. And then, I saw like Goto and Ishii do it, and like, okay, that's cool. And then Shibata does it and has to have his brain taken out and put back in. And then it's like, I cringe when I see those fucking headbutts.
yeah, I never watched that match. I heard about that headbutt, and I'm like, I can never watch that match.
I watched that match once. It's one of the best matches I've ever seen. 5 stars every day. I will never watch it again.
I've heard so many people who watched it say that, and I'm like, I can't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, like, if you said to me, okay, it's a 30-minute match, and at 22 minutes and 9 seconds is the headbutt, so close your eyes and mute the TV, I will not enjoy that match because I'll just be sitting here going, in 22 minutes and 8 seconds, 22 minutes and seven
Yep.
seconds, etc.
Hmm.
And it's like, and especially knowing that somehow Shibata did come back, but that was going to be his swan song. The is going to be the end of his career. It's like I was just, you know, it made it too
It
real,
yeah.
and um,
It's a fucking
yeah.
miracle that he was able to make a comeback.
I I'm honestly afraid to see just how many wrestlers from the 90s and early aughts it turns out of CTE. Because I
I'm
mean,
scared to death of what like the guys who started doing that real fucking heavy like the New Japan style in the 2010s with that big boom took
mhm,
a leap forward in insanity and intensity. What is Tomohiro Ishii gonna feel like in 15 years? Hiroki Goto, fucking like that roster. Tanahashi's
yeah,
knees are fucking powder.
yeah. Naito, he's
Naito,
left.
yeah,
He's
he's
fucked up.
he's going to get the stem cell treatment on his knees that Rey Mysterio had that did so well. More wrestlers need to do that.
Yeah. Like hell, Ray, having 20 knee surgeries. I mean, he didn't really have 20, but I mean, he had a lot of fucking knee surgeries, and he also took some nasty shots to the head. I was just watching that episode of Nitro when they did the NWO backstage takeover and Nash flung him headfirst into the trailer. Like it's nasty to see him do that, even though he got his hands up, and B, it's like he fell from like 8 feet in the air straight to the ground.
And that's one of the great moments in wrestling history, but it's like, holy shit, wow.
And then do you remember? And I asked, do you remember? But I'll be shocked if you do. Do you remember when TNA did the exact same thing with Nash and
Yep.
Amazing Red?
Yes, I do. I do. Of
Motherfucker.
course, I remember that. You think I'm not gonna remember Amazing Red getting yeeted into a fucking production truck? You remember? You remember Kane and Stevie Richards did that at a hardcore title match on Raw in 2001? Like that was the finish of the
No.
match. Yeah, when Kane was
I,
hardcore champion, like that he won the hardcore title at WrestleMania 17 and he had it for a few
yeah.
weeks. He and Stevie Richards had a hardcore match on Raw, and the finish was Kane lawn darting Stevie into the side of a tractor trailer.
Okay. I wonder if Stevie remembers that. I'll have to go on his YouTube page. But by the way, speaking of wrestlers in the YouTube pages, okay, can we just call bullshit on Maven sneaking into AEW?
I I kind of stopped taking the journey with those videos a while back, and I saw that, and I'm like, huh, whatever kind of bullshit that is.
It's like, okay, I, the fact is, if that was real, okay, if he really snuck into AEW without anyone's permission, and not just snuck in, he snuck in with a camera crew. You know, if that actually fucking happened, they'd be up shit's creek without a paddle because every Tom, Dick, and Harry would all now know how easy it is to get backstage and just walk into the arena in AEW.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you may have I may have like given it like if he didn't have a camera crew, and I obviously can't do a YouTube video if he doesn't have a camera crew. But if you didn't have the camera crew and you just said, okay, Maven, former wrestler, went down to the arena to see some friends and see if they'd let him in, and they let him in, I'd believe you.
Like, what would have also been believable if he just fucking recorded shit on his phone like real fucking guerrilla video makers do.
There you go. And but it's like, yeah, like horseshit. But I watched like 10, it's like a 20-minute video. I watched like 10 minutes of it, and even then I was fast forwarding through so much of it because I'm like, okay, dude, like, come on. Now it's funny because like I will say this because my one experience of being, well, not really backstage, but being in the, going to Full Gear last year when I was part of the media doing the presser, because I was on the other side of the arena from the rest of the press, it took me forever to get over there because, yeah, it's hard to walk down the steps when thousands of people are walking up the steps. And so when I got over there, nobody was around to point me in the right direction, but I knew where to go because it was where I met Adam Cole and all that stuff for the All Elite Experience thing. So nobody's around, no security, no nothing. I literally just walked through a barricade and walked back there. Now, mind you, that was also at one point I ran by Mercedes Monet, who was standing in front of the door. It turns out I needed to be in front. I needed to go through Prince Nana and a few others. Oh, and when I ran by the Spanish announce team, I realized I'd gone too far. So apparently, it would not have been that difficult to get through people, but yeah. Um,
I think we've set a new record for length going into the podcast without actually talking about the stuff we're here to talk about.
I don't know what I don't know how long we've really gone because we had 5 minutes of technical issues. So it's somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes that we've
Yeah.
gone. And the funny thing is, we do have a decent amount of audio to play for Mid South this week. So let's go to Mid South, May 5th, 1984. Wow, this is why people don't listen to the show, or why people listen to the show more. Who knows? Question mark. All right, Mid South, May 5th, 1984. Let's go to the intro with JR and referee Joel Armstrong.
To Mid-South Wrestling, another great hour of Mid-South Wrestling action in store for us. And, we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about. Before we go into the card, I want to say welcome to Joel Watts, who will be here with me during the portion of this hour. Joel will be doing some color commentary. As many of you fans know, Joel is the 20-year-old son of Cowboy Bill Watts. And, Joel, it's great to have you here. I know you've been around this business a long time, ever since you were a little guy, and it's great to be here with you.
Well, yeah, Jim, I'm real happy to be here myself. It seems like professional wrestling has its finger on the pulse of the youth of America more than any other sport in the nation right now. And I just like being around all the excitement, and I just love it. Ever since I was a kid, I've been going to the matches and watching the matches, and I just like them more than anything. And as you know, the Rock and Roll Express just got through winning the Mid-South Tag Team belts. I think they'll probably represent the Mid-South a lot better than the former holders of it, the Midnight Express, and I just happened to put together a video on them.
I tell you what, Joel, before we show that video, we want to remind everyone once again that we had last week just a touch of our Super Date that we're going to be doing, the Super Date in the Superdome. Of course, the next Superdome extravaganza will be in New Orleans at the Superdome on June the 16th. Tickets are now on sale at all Ticketmaster outlets and at the Superdome. It's going to be a great time for two young ladies, a very special evening I'm sure they'll never forget. We will tell you more about the Super Date and, of course, how to enter. One thing to do, I want to remind all the young ladies, if they're 18 years of age or more and not married, to send in the very best picture that you can because, of course, an independent agency will be judging those, and it's good. It should be a very exciting time. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I want to let you know that all the great videos that we see here, the MTV-like videos, Joel has produced those. There have been some exciting things. Joel, I know you're very proud, and I'm sure the people are going to be very excited to see the one you've done on the Rock and Roll Express. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I put it together with the music Jump by Van Halen, which seems to be a pretty popular song. And during the recording of it, I was hanging out the window of our van with a camera, and we were pulled over by Tulsa County Sheriff, who thought that I had some kind of weapon or something. You'll see a small portion of that, and I just hope you like it.
I think they'll love it. I think it's the best we've ever had here on Mid-South. Let's see that video now. It's the Rock and Roll Express with a little help from Van Halen.
Okay. Joel Armstrong, or, since we've outed him now on the show for the second time, Joel Watts is going to be an announcer on this show pretty much until they get bought out by Crockett. So he's going to be here for most of the next 3 years in one form or another. This is not the greatest debut of any announcer we've ever seen in our lives.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I didn't. I don't know. I guess I didn't think too much about it. I hope we'll get better.
I think he almost has to. It's like how people are like, oh, Michael Cole has always sucked. It's like, okay, Michael Cole is not Jim Ross or Gordon Solie in their prime, but watch 1997 Michael Cole and then watch 2025 Michael Cole. It's like
Yeah.
the level of sucking has greatly gone down.
I have I have weird biases. So like when it comes to Joel, like I remember Cornette saying that Joel was like into Japanese wrestling and would trade tapes and stuff. So I'm like, he's probably an all right guy.
I'm sure he is. Um, anyway, so do you remember the other time they outed Joel Armstrong as being Joel Watts?
Yeah, when they showed him and Doc at school.
Yes, yes. I wrote that too. Okay. Okay. I know I kind of brought this up last week. Why do the women have to be single to win the super date at the Superdome? This is not a real date.
I don't know, but gals, you better take a flattering picture if you want the chance to fuck the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh my
Funny,
God. They
I've
kept
always heard
saying
they
that.
weren't that picky.
Yeah, yeah. They're not Jericho and Storm and Smoky Mountain. Well, Storm had a wife, but they weren't Jericho and Smoky Mountain. It's like, if you had a vagina, to the best of our knowledge, you were okay with the Rock and Roll Express. Um, but it's like it just they cannot. They're trying their best to not make this sound creepy, but we need you to send the best picture you can of yourself, and an independent agency will judge you and pick the best two people. Like, oh my
Well,
God.
I think we know who the independent agency is.
I figured it was Joel, Eric, and the other son.
How dare you question the integrity of Mid-South Wrestling that they don't really have an impartial third party. They mentioned at the end of the show that Kerry Von Erich was going to be here next week.
Oh my God. See? Oh, I'll tell you what. You know who would be a truly unbiased third party? And I'm going to hell for this one. Grizzly Smith. We know for a fact he is not into adult women.
Well, at least we
Thus,
know what podcast we're going to get canceled for.
yes, thus, if we had Grizzly Smith judging this, that would truly be an unbiased, choice of who the hottest adult woman was. Because,
Or would it just be the one that looked the youngest?
we'll have to wait to see if we see footage this of this contest
Oh, I hope we
of the
do.
winners, I guess. Like seriously, like they're basically like, because okay, why would it matter how good looking you are if at the end of the day the whole point is the Rock and Roll Express are going to sleep with you, or if they're not going to
Well,
sleep with you, excuse me. It's like
may-
if it's not just, oh, the Rock and Roll Express are going to take their two biggest fans out dancing and for dinner after the Superdome. It's you're going to go on a date with Ricky and Robert, and you have to be attractive, single, and over the age of 18, which that eliminates a lot of issues. I'm not even complaining about that. I'm just complaining about the whole send a hot picture of yourself, and they emphasize it later on. Like, make sure it's a good picture of you. Forget the phrasing they
yeah.
use, but yeah.
Well, that's not the thing about Mid South that pissed me off the most today, so I'm just gonna let that slide.
Okay. Well, first of all, I do want to give a shout out to Joel Watts because I never knew the name of that song, Jump by Van Halen. Like, I'd heard that song so many times that I never knew the name of it. And like
Okay,
I didn't.
fun, funny enough, I recognize the song and I know the title, but I didn't know they belonged to each other. So thanks, Joel.
Okay. Yeah. And here's a question for you. What have we seen more of on Mid-South Wrestling? Rock and Roll Express matches or Rock and Roll Express music videos?
Well, I think if you added up the time, for sure, the music videos would be more.
I just think of like the sheer number. It's like this, it feels like at least the sixth music video. Because we got a lot of them in those first few weeks leading up to them debuting.
If I had the time, I could count, but I don't, so I'm not going to.
Okay. All right. So we got some big news here. JR and Joel. By the way, you'll notice that in that entire spiel, at no point did they mention any matches that were going to happen on this week's show. That's not important.
No.
But let's go back to JR and Joel, and they're going to break some big news here on the show.
Well, the Rock and Roll Express won the Mid-South Tag Team titles here last week, and that was a great personal look at them with a little help from Joel Watts and Van Halen and some great music. But some other exciting things here happened last week, and some very unpredictable things, namely the yellow painting of Stagger Lee by Hacksaw Butch Reed, and of course Nature Boy Buddy Landell was involved in that situation. Stagger Lee has left Mid-South, ladies and gentlemen. He said he came here to help Cowboy Bill Watts and earn some serious money. Well, he got paid his money from Cowboy Bill Watts, and he says that they were mad at the Junkyard Dog, the reason that he got painted, and that the Junkyard Dog's got him in a lot of problems. Well, we'll hear from the Junkyard Dog because he will be here later in this hour. He won't be wrestling, but he will give us an update as to exactly where he has been and some of the great matches that he will be featured in around the country. So, Joel, I know we're both excited about hearing from the Junkyard Dog.
Oh, definitely so, Jim. It's been quite a while since I've seen the dog.
Well, the Junkyard Dog will be here. We've got a great hour, including the Rock and Roll Express coming up next, and we'll be back with that great match after this word from the Mid-South Wrestling.
Okay. So, coincidence of coincidences, Junkyard Dog is coming back into the territory, and Stagger Lee decided to call it a day and return home.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I would think that Stagger Lee would have more pride than that. Man, see why? This is a chance to bury the bad blood, bury the hatchet. Just imagine this fucking Superdome card. We could do Butch Reed and Buddy Landell against Junkyard Dog and Stagger Lee, the Dream Team.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, this is not the first time that Stagger Lee showed his true cowardice, because last year he was North American champion, and he left the territory when Dog's 90 days was up instead of sticking around to defend the title. He left the territory and vacated the belt.
That's the thing. He heard Dog was coming back, and he didn't. He's awful. He talks a big game, but I don't think he wants any of the Dog.
And Joel Watts hadn't seen the Dog in a while. Maybe JR should have blindfolded him and let him through Dog's backyard. And yeah, I know that was Stagger Lee's backyard that JR was blindfolded and walked through, but still.
Well, they're adjoining. He probably had to walk through. They're adjoining properties, so he had to walk through Dog's yard to get to Stagger Lee's yard.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so the Junkyard Dog will be here later today, but he won't be wrestling. So what was it? Was it 60 days or 90 days that he agreed to leave? When he lost to Mr. Wrestling 2? Because it was 60. We're pretty goddamn close to 60 right now.
It may have been 60. I honestly don't remember, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was 60.
Sounds good. Honestly, I only want to say 90 because I remember telling myself that Dog is back in June, but I could be wrong. But it doesn't matter. The fact is, Dog is back. But speaking of people who are back, remember, I don't know, at this point, 3 months ago, when there was a random ass Jimmy Hart, no, it wasn't even a Jimmy Hart music video. It was a music video for the Bruise Brothers. And by the Bruise Brothers, we don't mean the Harrises either. It was Dream Machine and the other one. Well, apparently, Pork Chop Cash. So apparently, we have not gotten the end of the Bruise Brothers and their flirtation with Mid-South Wrestling. Let's go to JR and Joel, who are going to hitch it to a random-ass video that I was not expecting to be on this show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Rock and Roll Express are the new Mid-South Tag Team Champions. And one thing I can make this statement, I think, very, very honestly, and it's speculation. It's really not speculation. They took the titles from Jim Cornette's Midnight Express, and as we all know, you can't take Jim Cornette lightly. He's a very devious individual. And while the Midnight Express were the Tag Team Champions, a great combination was in the Mid-South area called the Bruise Brothers. And Troy Graham's leg was broken by the Midnight Express, and we have some footage now we'd like to show you. An interview with the Bruise Brothers outside the Memphis hospital. Let's play that now.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the hundreds and hundreds, as you can see here, of cards and letters that have poured into the hospital from all the Mid-South wrestling fans wanting to know how my Bruise Brother #1 is, and I think he's got something he'd like to say to you right now.
Well, the rains will come and the winds will blow, but the Bruise Brothers spread sunshine everywhere to go, but I'm not spreading too much sunshine now, as you can plainly see. You know, I laid up in that hospital for quite a few weeks there, and I just had a lot of things run over and over in my mind, and all I could think about was the Midnight Express. But, you know, Midnight Express, I've never intentionally hurt anyone this bad, just to go out and deliberately break their leg. But, you know, I guess behind every cloud there's a silver lining, and I will be coming back to the Mid-South wrestling area. And I want to tell you something, Midnight Express, I will be looking for you.
You know, like he said before, man, the man's got a plate in his ankle, 2 pins. It might be 6 months, it might be 9 months, it might be a year, but I promise you this, baby, the Midnight Express and Cornette, don't you send Bruise Brothers and Jimmy Hart no flowers, because we ain't dead yet. And when you least expect it, Cornette, from me to you, baby, we will get even.
Okay. Well, I had forgotten to put a ending timestamp at the end of that, so I was very quick on the trigger for that one.
Yeah.
So, Trae, as you know, the Rock and Roll Express are the new Mid-South Wrestling Tag Team Champions. I'm not sure if that has been established on this show yet this week.
I believe I recall that.
Yes. And by the way, this also tells you, and spoiler for like the next 5 minutes of the show, Jim Cornette did not go to his mama and get a lawyer to invalidate that title change like I was confident that he would, and I was confidently wrong. Which could be the title. Could be the title of this week's show because I don't have one yet.
Have some unfortunate news for the Dream Machine. He will not be coming back to the Mid-South area. In fact, he will not wrestle again for about a decade. He actually did suffer a what? You keep trying to talk over me. Am I fucking up here?
Nope. You're just writing what I was going to say. You're saying what I was going to say.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I looked it up, and then I just wanted to bring it up because he suffered the Cornette in the Midnight Express scrapbook says it was a broken ankle. In a Bruise Brothers Midnight Express match on March 31st at the Monroe Civic Center in Monroe, Louisiana, which was the venue where I went to my first several wrestling shows.
See, it's like they knew that, and they wanted to make sure there's a big happening at the arena that you would see your first several shows.
Yeah. Well, he made a little bit of a comeback in the 90s, but like this was the end of his full time career. And it's a shame because I saw like just a little bit of him in Memphis, and he had charisma and could talk, and like he probably would have had a pretty good career working at least through the 80s while there were Southern territories.
I wrote that it took a damn long time to fix his broken leg.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years to the day. Like it was like I think it was like March of '94 that he starts wrestling again.
Yeah.
Sadly, by the time his leg is fixed, there's no more Midnight Express. Every part of the Midnight Express is all over the place. Bobby's still wrestling in WCW. Stan is announcing, actually, 94. No, Stan's announcing in the WWF. Dennis is retired. Cornette can't stay in one place long enough for Troy Graham to get his revenge on him. That's the real reason why he never got his revenge on the Midnight Express. Like, he didn't know how to at this point.
Oh, he should have brought Dream Machine to Smoky Mountain. That would have been awesome.
We don't know if he doesn't. He doesn't. So we then get our first match an hour into this show. The Rock and Roll Express versus Buddy Landel and Pat Rose. As you know, the Rock and Roll Express are the new Mid-South Tag Team Champions. Why is Budro teaming with Pat Rose? That is not important, I guess.
Read another shit to do.
Buddy did my favorite spot that he does that got mimicked later on in a Dr. Death match on this show. But Gibson puts on a full Nelson and Buddy breaks it by putting both of his feet on the top rope. And so Gibson, being a good babyface, let go of the hold. And Buddy Landel fell from 3 feet. I always loved that spot.
So I get the impression here that Joel it might actually be a good addition to the announce thing because I would assume that he was watching a lot of Tiger Mask around this time, so he's actually explaining that guys like the size of Ricky and Robert, they may not dominate their opponents with power, but they use speed and technique, and it's incredible to watch.
Mm-hmm. Which explains why Pat Rose was in this match. In case it wasn't obvious ahead of time. We then had the very popular Terry Taylor versus Randy Barton.
Oh my fucking god! May I? May I have the floor?
Please.
There is this myth, this legend that was mostly perpetrated by like Jim Ross and guys of that ilk. And I'm not shitting on JR, I love JR. But there is this legend that in Mid-South Wrestling, everything was perfectly logical and hyper-realistic. Terry Taylor wrestled in a neck brace. I don't mean this was not a gimmick where the bell rang, so he was technically in a match while in a neck brace. He just wrestled his normal match in a fucking neck brace. -2 stars for being offensive to common sense.
Everything was airtight, brother,
Yeah.
But Taylor wins with a 5-arm, and I just wrote, how is he allowed to wrestle if he's still in a neck brace?
So fucking stupid.
Oh Lord! Look, when they announced that Terry Taylor was wrestling, I'm like, wow, he was they're kind of dropping this neck injury angle pretty quickly. He injured his neck. He was in a neck brace for 2 weeks, and now he's not. It's like, nope, he wrestled in the neck brace. Would it have been any dumber had he come out in the neck brace, but then took it off to wrestle and then put it back on?
Hashtag neck strong.
Yes. Hey, maybe that's who inspired Roddy to be neck strong.
Well, hopefully that's all Terry Taylor inspires Roddy to do.
What if Roddy starts doing the 5-arm?
Roddy's got the sick kick.
What if Roddy tries to book the Public Enemy in a match against Bradshaw? I mean, then we'll know that poor Roddy needs to, get drug tested. But oh, poor Public Enemy.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, honestly, it's like, and I brought on this own tangent to myself here. How tough of a person are you when you've been booked in a match with two people who were told to basically let them beat you up?
Yeah.
It's like Terry Taylor told the story, probably on the same Forever Hardcore documentary. That's like of how bad he felt because he brought Public Enemy into the WWF. He knew that they were being booked against the Acolytes as punishment, and basically told them to, in a way, because it would get them over to the locker room, to basically let them beat the shit out of them, and they let them beat the shit out of them, which is just
the one thing that a wide variety of wrestling personalities from across the personality and character spectrum, the one thing everybody agrees on is that Terry Taylor's a fucking stooge.
That's true, but I would also say Bradshaw's a dick.
That too.
Yeah. And I don't mean to disparage Joey Styles' fighting abilities, but when JBL got beaten up by Joey Styles in a fight, that probably should have been the end of the Bradshaw's a tough guy shit.
Shouldn't the fucking Brawl for All have been the end of Bradshaw's a tough guy?
Yes, but at least that you could argue, well, Bart Gunn is a wrestler. Bart Gunn is tough, yada, yada, yada. No one has ever called Joey Styles tough in his life. I don't think Joey Styles has ever called Joey Styles tough. Anyway, let's go to the returning Junkyard Dog, who you might recall last week, Junkyard Dog's former bitter rival, maybe still is a current bitter rival, Stagger Lee, got painted yellow and is now left Mid-South. So let's see how Junkyard Dog feels about coming in to Mid-South the way it is currently.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure for me to be here at ringside with one of the true legends of professional wrestling, a man that has cut his teeth right here in the Mid-South area and became a superstar from coast to coast. It's great to have you back, Junkyard Dog.
Pleasure always be back. You know, it's I'd like to give thanks to all the people here throughout the Mid-South area because they gave me the strength, the endurance, plus my wife and kid. I've been very fortunate. You know, I've been throughout the world, Virginia, North Carolina. Just happened to have the big thing over in Texas. I'm in the Orange Bowl, but I couldn't have did it without the people in the Mid-South area. Now I'm rated number 3 throughout the world, and I'm out there representing the people.
I know you've been all over the world. Of course, I know another area you've been in, Memphis, Tennessee. A lot of exciting action happening there. You've just been everywhere. Atlanta.
I've been in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been in Atlanta. I got to go to North Carolina pretty soon because a so-called Bigfoot in Atlanta trying to run roughshod with a couple of fellas up there. I'm going to take care of business because I was built here in the Mid-South. I was more or less born here in the Mid-South. The people in the Mid-South just about raised the dog, and I'm going to do just about what they want me to do and take care of business throughout the world.
You know, Doc, when you left, Mid-South did not make you leave. You left on your own accord, and I want to know you want to clarify that.
Oh, yeah, I left on my own accord, and that's how I would leave, and I did leave.
Just a second. What are you doing out here
wait,
anyway?
Okay, wait.
Breathe in my face through here.
I just personally don't know anybody that cares what he has to say.
Wait just a second. Wait just, both of you gentlemen. First of all, this is his interview time, not yours. I don't know what business you have out here.
I'll tell you what business I've got. We got cheated. The Midnight Express got cheated out of the Mid-South Tag Team Championship. He's got no business being here. I want to get the Rock and Roll Express out here and have another title match to show everybody who the champions are. Because let me tell you something. You promised.
Don't blow in my face too loud.
You got no business being here. You promised that if you lost that match, you'd be out of Mid-South for 90 days. But what do? You put that stupid mask on and come back as stupid Stagger Lee and help stupid fathead ex-cowboy Bill Watts in his last stampede. But let me tell you something else. I was glad to see that Butch Reed come out here last week and paint that stripe down your back. I can still see the yellow showing because that's all you are is a yellow dog-faced liar.
You know what he just did? He just wrote a check that his rear end won't be able to...
Yeah. Wait. The Junkyard... Just... Wait. Ow!
I want to speak this time. I'm going to make it so that no matter who he is, Stagger Lee, a Junkyard Dog, he got a mark that he can carry from now on. He's a dog. He's a dog. Right there. How you like that dog? Turn it over, baby.
Ladies, they've just painted the Junkyard Dog. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more after this word from the network.
Okay. So, a few things. First, did you notice that when Cornette talked about how they painted, that you could still see the yellow on Dog looked down like almost like, oh shit, can you see the yellow through my shirt?
I
love that.
Dog grabbing Cornette by the throat and holding him there, like that was like for an impressive length of time while he was waiting for Bobby and Dennis to come and attack him.
It was like 25 seconds. And it's like, and I'm sure there's somebody out there going, oh, that's not much. Okay, you pick up a full-grown man and hold him there. Like, even if Cornette is, trying to base himself, it's like, you still have to fucking grip him up and hold him up there.
Not even, it didn't even have to be a grown man. Hold a fucking phone book for that long for long enough. Your arm will start to feel that.
Gonna say, I think
People know
even
what
I could hold
did,
a
did the
phone book for 20 seconds.
do the kids know what phone books are?
Are the kids listening to this show?
I don't know. I don't know who listens to this show, honestly.
I don't know, and I know the viewership of the show.
The first
Maybe one day.
time that I really, the first time that I really felt old was when I had to explain to a high school student that the TV guide used to be made of paper.
Honestly, it's getting to the point where it's like well, I mean, the TV Guide channel, I guess, hasn't been a thing in like 15 years itself. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
that's soon going to be something you have to explain to people.
Oh yeah.
Um,
The how are we gonna explain the free for all?
on the preview channel. Now Cornette said that. By the way, Cornette backed me up. He said that he was gone for 90 days. So hooray! Thank you, Jim. Um, By the way, do you want to try to tell us what JYD was talking about? He apparently has to go to North Carolina and deal with Ernie Ladd.
It
Which
all I heard I heard him say that he had been all over the world, but he's been to North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, and Georgia, which are all
yes,
I've been to all those places, great places, but
that's
not
great.
all over the
Would
world.
you would you consider that all around the world? And actually
A very
did
small part of it.
I did want to call bullshit on him, so I looked up his cage match profile, and honestly, I stopped because I wanted to call him out for not having wrestled anywhere else in the past couple months. But he did wrestle at least in North Carolina, so it's like, okay, I can't. Once I realized I didn't have an argument to make or a complaint to make, I just stopped looking. So who
He
knows where else
wrestled
he
for
wrestled? But
he wrestled for Crockett?
yeah, apparently,
Huh. I had
yeah,
no idea.
yep. Um, So some people would say this was overkill because, the Midnight Express attack Dog, they hold him down, and Butch Reed comes out and paints him yellow. I say it's brilliant because this was the second week of the taping. Last week was the first week. And so even if Junkyard Dog last week, I'm sorry, Stagger Lee last week, would have gotten up, gone backstage, and taken a shower, there's still going to be some yellow paint on him. So to cover up any potential kayfabe snafus, they just have Butch Reed dump an entire fucking bucket of yellow paint on him this week. Yeah, there's no
I
painting. There's just dumping of paint all over him.
I really like this angle.
I did too, and although I'm getting tired of Junkyard Dog and Butch Reed, not nearly to the extent that I am our world class feuds that we'll be talking about later. Um, I thought it was a nice way to heat up the feud again for the next Superdome show.
Yeah, and it needed that feud needed some heat.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll be honest, like when you look at the roster, because obviously they needed a match for Dog at the Superdome, who would you have had him wrestle? Maybe Volkov?
Who are
But,
the is it Midnight and Rock and Roll at the Superdome?
I assume so.
It's Midnight Rock and Roll, 2 and TA, I assume. Yeah,
Or,
if 2 and or I'm sorry, 1, if 1 and the Midnight are both otherwise engaged, I can't unless I don't know. Yeah, I mean you don't want to fucking give him like an easy win over Buddy Landell or anything. It's a Superdome with your top star.
yeah,
Unless you're gonna bring somebody else in, you kind of got to be Dog, doesn't it? Or Breed,
yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. Or they could have done, because I don't know, like I haven't looked up the results. They're really pushing this tag match with the Rock and Rolls versus 1 and 2. So they may do that. And then, I mean, I know they don't do this, but I'm like, you could do a 6-man, like street fight type thing with the Midnight Express and Butch Reed versus JYD. And I don't know who else he could be with TA and Terry Taylor or something, but that I know they don't do that, so I guess that takes out of the book. But I'm saying that's something you could do.
Yeah, I wonder what they will do.
Yeah. And it's funny because like they never really talk about it on the show other than telling you, hey, the Superdome is such and such a day because we don't get the local promos. And, you know, even though when watching
Okay,
um Smoky Mountain that I will just ignore local promos unless I could small but yeah.
okay. Would you like to hear this Superdome card?
Sure, why not?
Okay. The main event, Junkyard Dog versus Butch Reed in a ghetto street fight.
Hmm.
Semi-main, this is a spoiler, but North American champion Magnum TA versus Ted DiBiase.
You know, you could have just
Chris,
not said North American champion and just said Magnum TA versus Ted DiBiase, right?
well, too late. Terry Taylor against Crusher Khrushchev. Jimmy Garvin and Precious against Chris Adams and Stella Mae French.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
World
Although I
Women's
guess
Tag Team Champions Princess Victoria and Velvet McIntyre against Wendy Richter and Peggy Lee Leather.
now these are the same World Women's Tag Team titles that become the WWF Women's Tag Team titles, and I believe Princess Victoria and who was the other one? Velvet McIntyre.
Yeah.
You broke up. What was that?
Yes.
I believe they won the belts in Egypt.
Yes. The only well until they did a real title change in South Africa in like 2008, it was the only quote unquote only WWE title change in Africa.
They did a title change in South Africa in 2008.
They did a tour and London and Kendrick beat Caden Murdoch for the tag titles I think they won them in Cape Town and lost them back in Johannesburg.
Okay, then.
Mr. Wrestling 2 against Mr. Wrestling Johnny Walker. Midnight Rock and Roll and Buddy Landell against Sonny King is the Superdome Extravaganza card.
I'm too busy blinking my eyes over here when you told me that Mr. Wrestling match. Oh wait, you said Mr. Wrestling 2. So is it Hercules?
Okay. On ProWrestlingHistory.com, it says Mr. Wrestling 2, parentheses, Ray Fernandez, and Mr. Wrestling, parentheses, Johnny Walker.
Is Johnny Walker the R Mr. Wrestling? Yeah, because
the
first Mr. Wrestling was
because the other Tim Woods was
is
Mr.
like Tim
Wrestling.
Woods, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I had a brain
Okay,
fart.
so
Sorry.
Trae is really dropping all these spoilers on us for the next month of Mid-South TV. But until we find out why Mr. Wrestling and Mr. Wrestling 2 are now having a match a month from now, let's go to JR, who's with Mr. Wrestling at the broadcast table.
Well, as we're trying to get some order restored here in our packed Irish Male Boys Club after that bizarre incident that just happened concerning the Junkyard Dog and that paint, Mr. Wrestling, the North American champion, has joined me here at Mike's side. And Mr. Wrestling, I'm sure the fans are interested in knowing exactly when and your plans for the North American title, when your next title match will be.
Hey, listen, I'm not interested in when my next title is going to be, and you don't worry about it one way or the other. What I'm interested in is how the Rock and Roll Express got mine and my partner's robe and our thing without breaking into my car and getting it. Now, you answer that one. How did they get that? That's a good question, right? Well, I'll tell you what, I'd like to have an opportunity also. I told you once, and I'll tell everybody out here right now, I'd like to get them in a ring right here on TV, get them in a ring. They call themselves champions after trying to be Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2? No way.
Well,
let me tell you. Well, what?
I can't answer those questions for you. You need to take up those matters with matchmaker Grizzly Smith. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wrestling's new protege is standing by in the ring. Let's go now to Boyd Pierce.
Okay, I like that JR is like, so when are you going to defend the title next? It doesn't matter. Don't ask me about when the next time I'm going to defend the title is. Let's talk about those damn Rock and Roll Express. And sadly, we did not have Bill Watts here to give a thumbs up for rock and roll music this week. But he's asking a very legitimate question. How did they get their masks and robes?
You know, I don't know. I was trying to think of a joke,
Okay.
and I just have nothing.
All right. So while you think of your joke, let's talk about Mr. Wrestling 2.0 versus Jason Wacker. Now, 2.0 has been around for a few weeks now and has never actually won a match with his torture rack. Well, the streak has ended. Mr. Wrestling 2.0 wins with the torture rack.
They
You
had to
think?
send in Jason Wacker to do the job right.
Yes. When you need someone to do a job, you call the whacker.
So
Uh,
I tried to look into this, and the extent of what I was able to discover was that on IMDb, uh, Jason Walker is credited with playing the roles of both Jason Walker and Jason Wacker on Mid South Wrestling.
I like that you found this out on IMDb.
Yeah, it's a fucking television show, isn't it?
It is, in fact, a television show, allegedly. I mean, I wasn't alive at the time, so I can't confirm. We are informed that next week, Dr. Death Steve Williams will be here in person. And what's better than watching Dr. Death Steve Williams in person? Watching a tape of Dr. Death Steve Williams as he took on Earl Jerry Gray from Oklahoma City on April 8th, narrated by Bill Watts. Doc won with the Oklahoma Stampede. Earl Gray stole Buddy Landell's move.
What move?
Where he broke a move by putting his feet on the top rope, and then Dr. Death just let him go.
Oh, tremendous. Tremendous.
Yes. And I didn't pop you by calling him Earl Grey.
I smiled. I enjoyed that.
God damn it. And any thoughts on this one?
No.
Okay.
I guess Doc's football career didn't work out.
Nope, I guess the Denver Gold cut him.
Darn.
Okay. Do we need to fucking watch this again? JR is in the
I just love
JR
it. Look again. So they keep emphasizing send in a good picture, damn it.
Send those quality pictures in, but only if you're single. Oh God, yeah, they had Rock and Roll Express, JR, and all the girls in the ring to do the plug for the date, the Super Date at the Superdome. Now, do you think this is again? This is the same taping as last week. Did they really like empty the ring of all these girls, continue the show, and then come back 40 minutes later to have them all come into the ring again?
We have to talk about this. Can't we talk about Magnum TA versus the rugged Oriental star Masao Ito?
You almost had written down word for word what I wrote down. Magnum TA versus the rugged Oriental star with a great win-loss record, Masayo Ito.
Oh,
Are you sure we're not stealing each other's notes?
I think we have ESPN too.
This match went a lot longer than I expected it to. Ito was using the face
Mm-hmm.
claw, which somehow busted TA's head open. TA showed tremendous courage by being clawed for minutes on end. Every time TA would fight back, Ito would give him the hi-ya chop to the head. Ito missed the diving headbutt, which for some reason led to Terry Taylor coming out. I assume it was for Terry Taylor to give TA a time cue because TA immediately won with the belly-to-belly suplex.
Just the very presence of Terry Taylor gave TA the push to win for some reason.
Well, remember the story back in the day that I guess this was before the referees had earpieces. Gorilla would give the go home cue to the Fink, and the Fink would like lift his pencil or whatever, and that would be the cue to the people in the ring. So Terry Taylor coming out is the time cue.
You couldn't just give Boyd Pierce a pencil.
I don't know. See, I assume since Terry Taylor's neck is hurt, even though he did wrestle earlier on the show, he's trying out for new jobs here within Mid-South, in case his career doesn't take off.
Smart.
And Timekeepers seems like a perfectly logical thing for him to do.
I mean, he did end up having a greater influence behind the scenes in the wrestling business than in front of the camera.
Indeed, he did. He was terrific Terry Taylor for a reason, and the
tailor-made man.
The computerized man of the 1990s, maybe that's what it was. It wasn't so much that he was stealing Mike Rotundo's gimmick. He was, basically preparing himself for an office career after his in-ring career ended.
Yeah. So this was like kind of weird because Masao Ito has been like a geek, and now he's busting Magnum TA open and getting heat on him. But I just like this would have been fine if it had been a heel that people took seriously, like Butch Reed or even like Crusher Khrushchev.
Mm-hmm. And they announced that this was the last match, and I'm like, man, there's still like 7-8 minutes left in the show. What the hell are they going to do with the rest of the time? Turns out that what they're going to do with the rest of the time is have Magnum TA and Masao Ito have a 7 or 8 minute match, apparently. By the way, I'd like to point out that Joel Armstrong said so little during this show that I didn't even notice he wasn't there for the last few matches.
I am just now noticing that he wasn't there for the last few matches.
You're a great guest host when the people whose job it is to review the show don't even notice you're not there.
I'm sure he'll get better.
Now, next week, Kerry Von Erich will be here, he may be the NWA World Champion this time next week. And also, Grizzly Smith is negotiating a match between Hacksaw Dugan and Crusher Khrushchev, which, considering every time they wrestle, Khrushchev is injuring Dugan, that might be the worst thing Grizzly Smith has ever done.
Oh, even worse than this fucking contest.
Yes, because I doubt it was his idea. Oh my God, he's the matchmaker.
Oh.
So of course he came up with the contest.
Yeah, lore drop. Wow.
There you go. Maybe he was Hitch long before Hitch was a thing.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe.
And I know it was just part of Parks and Rec canon, but I would totally have watched Hitch 2, Son of a Hitch.
I watched that movie back in the day. It was all right.
You would watch Hitch 2 too?
I mean, if I was hanging out with somebody that wanted to watch it, I probably wouldn't pick it myself, but I wouldn't be pissed off about it or anything.
Well, let's go to Bill Mercer here in the intro World Class. Yes, this is the best of highlight show that I was just debating not even doing this week and just skipping. But then I watched it and I was like, I might as well just review it and move on with our lives. Let's go to Mercer with the intro.
Welcome to the special edition of World Class Championship Wrestling. And in this edition, we're going to bring you that tremendous, exciting history of the Von Erich and the Freebird feud and where it's leading to right now. We'll also bring you back to the colorful, exciting encounters between Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair in the World Championship matches, and that incredible Sunshine and Precious feud. All this on this edition, the special edition of World Class Championship Wrestling.
Okay. I say this as somebody who's forced to watch Jimmy Garvin versus Chris Adams for the last year. Why is the feud that we're talking about Precious versus Sunshine and not Garvin versus Adams? I mean, yeah,
Precious versus Sunshine is the part people care about.
I mean, that's what the feud is. I mean, they're having a mixed tag match for a reason, but it's still like they're literally the main title holder in your company, and they're a backdrop to the girls' spot.
I don't have the sense of just exhaustion with the Adams and Garvin food that you have. But during that video that they played during the show, they showed part of that fucking Jimmy Garvin and Johnny Mantell match, and I just started having like flashbacks.
It's honestly, and like that's the problem with World Class is that they have so few people. They don't like Mid South doesn't have that many people either, but there's constant moving in and out of people in and out of the company. We've been watching these same two feuds almost the entire fucking time we've been watching this. Because I mean, yeah, the Jimmy Garvin Chris Adams feud didn't start until August or September, but it's like the Von Erich Freebird feud's been going on for over a year now. Garvin and Adams have been wrestling each other almost exclusively now for 7 months. It's time to fucking move on. It's time for people to leave the territory and new people to come in. And, you know, I'm just, it's driving me crazy. And I'm kind of curious, you know, how Gary Hart would have done booking this instead of Ken Mantell.
Better. I'm willing to wager.
What are you willing to wager?
$7 Australian.
Okay. And I guess this would be the best point to ask, what is the wager? You just said, I'm willing to wager, and that's it.
Okay, when we get the time machine, after we go to watch the Bullet and Jim Cornette in Knoxville, and then we go to watch Whitey Caldwell and Ron Wright, we go to 1983, hit Ken Mantell on the back of the neck with a roll of quarters, throw him in a car trunk, and give the book back to Gary Hart.
I think the bigger issue is to go back to 1982, hit Fritz in the back of the neck with the roll of quarters, and write Gary Hart a bigger check for Christmas week 82.
Honestly, I feel like we could save a lot of people a lot of grief if we went back to like 1975 and took out Fritz.
What the hell would we be talking about then? Because I mean, what would his kids have gotten into wrestling?
We'd be watching Memphis right now, and I'd be happier.
We'd be watching Memphis, where the Freebirds would be wrestling Jerry Lawler, Pork Chop Cash, and Iceman Parsons every week, going, "Oh my God, will we get another feud? Remember Fritz von Erich? Remember the people who murdered him back in 1975? I wonder if his kids would ever want to get into wrestling." Oh. So they showed the beginning of the Freebird Von Erich rivalry on Christmas 1982 when Hayes tried to help Kerry win the world title, and Kerry's like, no. And so Hayes tries leaving. Flair knees Kerry from behind, who crashes into Hayes, who crashes into Gordy, and Gordy set the territory on fire by throwing a cage door into Kerry's head. From here, we finally saw the Thanksgiving cage match with Hayes versus Kerry that we only ever had to assume the result because we never saw the match. We never talked about the fucking result, but we just assumed Kerry won because, well, it's Dallas. And this was the match where the loser had to leave Texas for a year or about 4 weeks, whichever came first. Buddy threw Kerry some knucks. Buddy threw Kerry some knucks. Buddy probably threw Hayes some knucks, but Hayes missed twice. Fritz slammed Gordy on the floor. Buddy tried coming off the top of the cage, but instead crotched himself. And Kerry pinned Hayes with a knucks-assisted discus punch. Gordy got in the ring, and somehow Fritz slammed the cage door on his head. This really should have been the end of the feud. It's like this is the appropriate full circle finish to the feud. And it's not even like, oh, well, they tried to move on and realized that the houses were down. They didn't go a fucking month without the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. You don't know where the houses were going to go.
No. So you had messaged me that, hey, we finally see the Kerry and Hayes cage match from Thanksgiving. I was like, oh, okay. And then as I was watching the show, I started to get confused. Like I watched this, and then I looked at my notes, and apparently I watched the full version of the show, so I had seen it.
La-di-da, aren't you special?
No, I'm not.
Um,
I'm really not. I was just telling a story of me being momentarily confused and then putting together what had happened.
all right. So remember last week or the week before when they said we were going to have a random announcement from Fritz von Erich, and then they never had an announcement from Fritz von Erich? Well, we're about to
Uh-huh.
get that random announcement from Fritz von Erich here on the Go Home show to Texas Stadium. Let's play that here first. And honestly, it's like 11 minutes of audio between Fritz and then the follow-up promo. We're going to just listen to Fritz first and then come back and talk about that.
Well, naturally, Fritz von Erich has been following very carefully his Von Erich boys and the Freebird feud. And recently he had this to say.
The most recent thing that happened was last night at the Super Pit, the Denton, North Texas State Coliseum, when Gordy and Hayes tried their best to cripple my young son, Mike. Now, Mike has bruised ribs. He is hurt, but he's not hurt that bad. And he will be here tonight. So you can rest assured that Mike is a true champion. And we'll be here tonight with taped up ribs.
Oh, no. I hate to see this.
Would you get to the point, man? You're supposed to be out here just to announce something. Do you know how long you've been out here? Well, I'm going to ruin your surprise. Me and my brothers had done some thinking. And we've eliminated it down to 3 people who it could be. Now it's either going to be Bruiser Brody, who Kamala ran out of here, and everybody knows we beat Kamala up, or it's going to be Brian Adidas, family flunky, or that other European, that nephew of yours, Lance Von Erich. Now, right now, face to face, you tell me which one of them it's going to be.
Mr. Hayes, you're wrong on all 3 counts.
It's not one of them.
It is not one of them.
Well, who is it? I want to know who it is. I demand to know right now.
Oh, you demand to know right now?
Right now, I want to know.
It's going to be the next man to bust you between the eyes. Now, just in case there's any further doubt in your mind, I'll see you May the 6th on Bad Street.
Wait. Are you saying that you're going to team with your boys at Texas Stadium? Can you believe it?
Well, I suppose all the years I've known you, I shouldn't be surprised, really, about what you might be doing, Fritz. But now you're really going to come out of retirement one time for this Bad Street match. Just one time.
Bill, this will be the last time, partner. It's been 2 years since I quit.
Right. It's been that long?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Right at Texas Stadium, back in June of 2 years ago. But, brother, I'll tell you something. The type match this is also got my attention. Now, Michael Hayes calls it a bad street match. He doesn't know what bad street means. If you've forgotten my past, I've been in every kind of a match there ever was. When I heard the conditions he laid out for this, hey, man, I should have built Bad Street. He's going to find out. There's a few tricks I may teach him out there. One of the motivating factors involved here, though, Bill, was that I want my sons to have this 6-man world title. If we win that title out there with me involved, the NWA has agreed that my son, Kerry, can step in my place, because I never plan to wrestle again after that. If we win it, then Kerry, Kevin, and Mike will be the world 6-man champions.
Yeah, that's great. Well, he has a chance to be the world champion that night.
Now you got it.
Hey, 2 championships possible.
Let's have your computer in your pocket. You figured that out real quick. Could be. All in one night.
Good.
2 world champions.
Has that ever happened before?
No, Bill. To my knowledge, it never has. And probably never will again. But, boy, now I'll tell you something. It's going to be a great night. And I'm going to be in that ring out there with my 2 sons, Kevin and Mike. And we're just going to see what happens out there. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you working out now? Are you trying to get back into shape, or are you just going to go on your great instincts and your
Bill,
background?
I've always been a defensive wrestler. Most of these young bucks, I can let them wear themselves out just trying to get behind me. In something like this, though, just remember I can use anything. I can wear boots, blue jeans.
That's right. It's anything.
Anything. That's right. And I just may end up teaching the young Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts a few tricks that they never thought was possible. I think their daddy should have worked them over a few times when they were younger. Well, it's not too late. Maybe this papa can work them over now. We'll see.
Well, it's certainly something to look forward to, because that's going to be one. I didn't think you'd ever do it, but I can see why you're doing it, and I understand, and I think it's a tremendous thing for you to do.
Hey, I'm going to be there for Kerry's match, you know that, to see him become the world champion, and I truly think he will that night. Also, it'd be great being in the ring with my young son, Mike, for the first time. Mike and Kevin as my partners. It's going to be something else. I guarantee it.
Fritz Von Erich coming out of retirement for the one and only time, a chance to be the 6-man tag team champion, and Kerry Von Erich could be a double champion that night. All that at Texas Stadium.
You know, I'd be more impressed by Kerry potentially becoming a double champion if we hadn't just watched Chris Candido become a triple champion over on Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, that's by the way, I guess I should probably bring this up on the Smoky Mountain show, but I really love like the inspiration that modern championship belts take from older championship belts. You know how like the AEW trios titles resemble that early 90s WCW world title, or the way that the continental title belt is clearly inspired by the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. That's awesome. I just cannot believe the gall of New Japan matchmakers to just straight up steal the Smoky Mountain Beat the Champ TV Championship nothing and use it for their Strong Survivor title.
What the hell's a Strong Survivor title?
It's the fucking thing. It's they started it like a year or two ago. Like the guys from the LA Academy that have like dark matches on the USA shows, they're for the Strong Survivor or whatever.
Okay. Somehow I managed to avoid that. I thought the nothing is what they gave the winner of the C block of the G1, you know, back before they had a C and a D block.
No, they got a thumb trophy.
Oh, okay. So interestingly enough, and this is not the first time anyone has mentioned him, Hayes brings up as a potential partner Lance Von Erich. And they've mentioned him before.
They have. I was going to ask you if this was the chronologically the first mention.
No, because they mentioned him a few months ago, maybe even been like 6 months ago. I remember they randomly mentioned Lance Von Erich. So it's like they were getting you ready for it without actually getting you ready for it, I guess. And they also mentioned the disappearing Brian Adidas. I'm like, what the hell ever happened to Brian Adidas? He was on this show for like 2 weeks after David died, and then he disappeared. He showed up he won the TV title on the Fort Worth show, and then showed up on Mid-South as the world-class TV champion, if you remember right. And we've never seen him again.
Yeah, what the hell happened to him?
Who knows? So I thought the funniest part of this was going to be Britt saying it'll be the next person who busts you between the eyes and then punched Hayes in the forehead, which apparently counted. But no. It was fucking Drunk Marc Lowrence still not figuring it out, even after Fritz said it. So Fritz had to say it again.
In his defense, he's drunk.
That is true. Good Lord, Drunk Marc Lowrence, get yourself back on the wagon. And then we got the in-studio promo with Fritz and Mercer saying he wants to do this for his kids, and that the NWA has agreed that if they win the World Trios titles, then Kerry will be able to take his spot because Fritz is only going to wrestle one time. And he said his strategy is to let the Young Bucks wear themselves out. I didn't even know he knew who the Young Bucks were.
Those guys have pretty damn good cardio, and also probably aren't born yet, or at least are small children.
How old are they anyway?
I think Nick is early 30s and Matt is probably late 30s. You would assume that the gap is like 2 years between them. No, it's 5 years.
Let's see here. Okay, so Matthew is 40, just turning 40 a couple months ago, and
Okay.
Nicholas is 35. So
Okay.
neither of them were born at this time. So this is incredible work by Bill Watts to already know about them.
Hey, Bill Watts. You mean Fritz?
Or Fritz von Erich, one of the two. Who do you think would like have their head explode more by a Young Bucks match, Bill or Fritz?
Oh, that let's have them watch it together and see who has a stroke first.
Bill is still alive, so has anyone asked Bill what he thinks about the Young Bucks? Does Bill even know what AEW is, do you think?
Probably it's that new company that Dusty's kids started. That's all the old wrestlers referred to it.
All right, so we heard from Fritz, so we got to hear from the Freebirds. And so let's go to a broken down house on Bad Street, where Buddy Roberts has kicked down a door and are about to give us their thoughts on the upcoming match.
Welcome to our world, Bad Street, USA. You know something, baby? Since the Bad Street USA singles took the nation by storm, and with the world premiere of the video coming up, everybody has been wondering about Bad Street. Well, we thought that we'd take you right here, live on location. Matter of fact, we invited Bill Mercer down here, but as you can see, he didn't show. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have come down Bad Street. We're the only ones that have walked off of it. The reason why is you're looking at the best tag team professional wrestling has to offer. It's the best franchise professional sports has to offer. It's called the Fabulous Freebirds. And you see, Fritz von Erich, when you hit me when I wasn't looking, I want to add that in, I wasn't looking when you hit me, you yellow-bellied dog. When you hit me, you started something that you know nothing about, because we're a whole different era, man. We're not back with Gene Kaninsky and all those people, Dory Funk Sr. You're talking about us. And you're not talking about imitation either, brother. You know, there's a lot of teams now trying to imitate us, copy us, call themselves the Fabulous this, the Fabulous that. They try to play a record coming to the ring. Of course, they don't have a record that's #1 going all through the country. They don't have a video coming out. Nevertheless, you still try to imitate us. It's not the word fabulous that makes us what we are. It's not the word fabulous that makes us world champions. It's the word that follows it, and that's Freebird. And there's only 3 of them. And they can be imitated, but they can't be duplicated. And nothing's going to be duplicated at Texas Stadium in a Bad Street match with cowboy boots.
Exactly. Hey, Michael, you know what? All these other teams, you know, they're very, very lucky. You know why?
Why?
Because they don't have to wrestle us in a Bad Street match.
You got that right.
Hey, I want to say something about those punks.
Well, roll.
Fritz, Von Erich, punks. All those kids, they don't know what Bad Street is like we do. They've had everything handed down to them on a silver
From
plate.
Daddy. From Daddy.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what, boys. Your father better be ready. He better be in training. He better be in shape because this is a bad street match. And you know, I'm going to tell everybody and Fritz Von Erich exactly.
Talk to him.
What I am going to do. I'm going to take my belt off.
Because it's legal.
I'm going to wrap it around these knuckles here. And as anybody can see, I have 10 nickels on this belt buckle, which adds up to 50 cents.
For those of you that can't multiply.
Fritz, Von Erich, and boys, there's going to be 50-cent marks all over your body. And after the bad street match is over, nobody, not any one of you Von Erichs, is going to be worth a plug nickel.
Hey, Bam Bam! What? You got anything you want to tell him, man?
Yeah, I'd like to tell him something about this boot right here.
What about it?
You know, you see this boot right here, when it goes upside your head, it hurts. But I'm sure you're stupid like the rest of your boys, so you wouldn't know nothing about that. So I'm just going to show you.
Look out, man, he's coming through.
Now, who do you think you are, boy? James Brown or what?
Talk to him, Bam Bam!
You're coming down here with your old self, and you're going to step in the ring with some stars of today, boy. And I hope you know what you're doing because, you know, I know you've been through a lot, Fritz Von Erich. And I know you shedded a lot of blood, boy. But right here in this bad street match, we're going to see if you've got any blood left in your body. And your boys, too. You know, I can't believe your boys is actually letting you step up in the ring with somebody like the Freebirds, as many beatings as they took. And they're going to let their old man Paul step up in the ring and try to do something about the Freebirds. No way, Jack. Like I said, we're going to find out about you right here on Bad Street. It's coming up real soon, and we're going to find out if you've got any blood left in your body, because, Fritz, if it wasn't for people like you, there wouldn't be people like us.
I was going to ask, why did the Freebirds live in such a shitty, rundown house? But it makes sense because they live on Freebird. It's the they live on Freebird. They live on Bad Street. You know, that, like, why would you have a nice house if you're living on Bad Street? It's just going to get destroyed.
That's got to be all the way down the block, like at the end of the block. I guess my brain didn't make the connection that this was meant to be a house on Bad Street, because I was just like, why are the Freebirds hanging around a crack house?
Maybe I'm just making too many connections. So I was like, well, this is their house. So, you know.
Why was Gordy fucking off inside the whole time until it was time to explain boots? I'm so confused.
I mean, I'm thinking you thought the same thing I did, that he wasn't even there until
I assumed. My thought was, oh, I guess Gordy's in Japan.
Yeah, he wasn't even there. It was Owen. Anyway, I'll be honest, Hayes and Buddy make me want to get into the time machine and go back and watch this show. You know?
Yeah.
No doubt. And Gordy explains if you hit somebody with a boot, it will hurt. And we will see how much. We'll see if Fritz has any blood left in him. You know?
It's just one of those things one of those silly things that I will always pop for. Taking your boot off and hitting a guy in the face with it will pop me every single time. Just a great spot.
So you may have been the only person that liked the 93 War Games match. Because that literally was the first thing Dustin Rhodes did, was take off his boot and hit Vader with it. Yeah.
I watched that very recently, I guess. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, that match is not as good as the 91 and 92 War Games matches. You know, in case you had any confusion in the matter. So from here we saw.
But what was that one? Wasn't the 92 one the really terrible one?
Oh God, no! 92 was amazing. That was the Sting Squadron versus Dangerous Alliance one. Which one do you think about? Like 90?
No, I was
90
thinking about the fucking scaffold match or whatever with like Steve Austin and PN News. I got mixed up.
oh, oh yeah, that was the 91 Great American Bash.
Yeah.
Um, see, I was thinking about like worst War Games matches ever. 95 when it was the Hulkamaniacs versus the Dungeon of Doom, Shark,
2000.
Zodiac, Meng, and Kamala. I don't even count 2000. Like I know they
That's
called it a
valid.
War Games match. I know that it had timed entrances. I don't count it. To me,
Can we
the
count
last
98 one? Because that also
I
sucked.
do. Yeah, I do, and it sucked. Um, yeah, the 98 one, I liked the idea of it more than the execution of it, you know. And
Yeah.
like honestly,
Yeah.
when you look back on it, that match had no chance. But yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean those are really the worst War Games matches because like even like pointless ones like 89, like what the hell is the point of having the Midnight Express, the Road Warriors, and Dr. Death versus the Samoans and the Freebirds? It's like that did not have to be a War Games match.
Like I remember it
Um,
being kind of unnecessary. I don't remember it being bad necessarily.
it wasn't bad, it was just unnecessary. Um, I could see people also giving poo-pooing over 94, which was Dusty, Dustin, and the Nasty Boys versus Colonel Parker and his men. But I don't know how you could poo-poo over a match that had Robert Fuller getting beaten up by four baby faces
That
because
sounds
that
awesome.
just it does, and it was. Um, and it's like the Stud Stable had a great theme song too. It was like, it was one of those, wacky WCW, you know, uh, tracks that it's like that was a damn good song. Um,
I don't guess I know it.
and what was that?
I don't guess I know it.
Hmm?
I'll get
So
to it.
from here, by the way, back here in World Class, because we're almost done, we saw highlights of the three fall match that Kerry came very close to winning the world title, according to Bill Mercer. Kerry got DQ'd in fall one, pinned Flair in fall two, and it was a double DQ in fall three. And I forget who I saw say this. It may have been Flair, or it may have been someone else, but this was one of the issues with Bob Geigel as the NWA president. When Sam Mushnick was president, he would not allow the champion to be booked weak. Like you had to get permission from the president to even have him get pinned in a three fall match like this, or even make it look
Yeah.
like,
Or
controversy.
lose by
Bob got,
Q. Like you
yeah,
couldn't have the world champion get disqualified without written permission.
yeah. Bob Geigel did not give a fuck. And coincidence or not, under Bob Geigel, the NWA went down. I do think it is a little bit of a
Mhm.
coincidence because, like, the NWA, like in my opinion, was never going to last because you were always like even without cable television, you were always going to have that final fight between the powerful promoters over who gets the world title and the people being pissed off that their guy didn't get it. And
Yeah, and he's also trying to not give Magnum TA his match with Tully Blanchard. Fuck him.
yeah, fuck Bob Geigel. By the way, that's not for another year and a half. By the way, Friday Night Spot Show, it may happen this Friday.
I
Um,
have I have something to suggest, and you may call me a fucking idiot and say no way.
you want to do the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions?
I thought we were gonna do that anyway.
Oh,
No,
I mean, okay, I thought that's what you were going to suggest for Friday. Okay, so what's your
no.
suggestion?
Okay, on the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling YouTube channel the other day, they uploaded an episode of Maple Leaf Wrestling from 1957.
You're a fucking idiot. I mean, let's do it.
Awesome.
Even though we just said on the last Friday Night Spot Show we're going to do WCW Saturday Night for the next few weeks leading up to Stargate 85.
Oh
Fuck it.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. We
Okay,
forgot to do
you
that.
know, that on the bottom of the screen it says card subject to change. Card
Yeah.
subject to change.
Exactly.
This week, we're talking about some 1950s wrestling, which that is going to be a hell of a thing to see.
Yes.
Anyway, we've then get the final thing they show is they show this feud between Sunshine and Precious. They show a Sunshine music video where she was with Garvin and all the abuses she went through. It had plenty of footage of that tremendous skit where her and Garvin worked on the Von Erich farm. And then that led to Garvin hiring Precious to be Sunshine's valet. Somehow that leads us to being forced to watch a John Mantell match. It was the one where Precious hooked Mantell's leg for the Rick Rude Ultimate Warrior WrestleMania 5 finish, but John Mantell couldn't do that right, and he rolled through and pinned him and won the non-existent TV title. That was when Garvin went with Precious instead of Sunshine, and then we also had the press conference of Sunshine violating HIPAA regulations.
I don't think Sunshine is beholden to HIPAA regulations.
I mean, you can't just give out other people's medical history on, national television, without their permission.
I don't have enough information about that to argue.
I mean, I'd imagine it would at least lead to a lawsuit. Like if I went on TV tomorrow, Trae, and I announced, well, my co-host Trae Weiscarver, here's all the shit that's wrong with him. Here's his medical history. Even though I'm not a doctor, there has to be some kind of legal repercussions from it.
We could do a whole fucking miniseries on what's wrong with me.
That might be coming to the Friday Night Spot show in the future.
Yeah.
Just put up a picture of you and draw onto the screen the brain scan and be like, here's what's wrong with Trae's nose. Here's what's wrong with Trae's jaw.
Oh no, I mean I don't think anything. Look, I don't really think I'm attractive, but I'm uncomfortable with my appearance. It's more the way I'm fucked up in the brain.
Here's a picture of Trae's brain. Let's point and laugh at it.
Well, that's not as mean as what I do to it, probably.
Well, I imagine it's hard for you to point and laugh at your own brain.
Not really. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
All right, we've gone about 2 hours. By the way, that was world class. So we haven't really discussed, I made plans about the next 2 weeks. I say we just do the whole Von Erich Parade of Champions next week, and then do 2 episodes of Mid-South the week after.
Good enough for me.
Sounds good. Anything you want to plug before we press stop and I go take a piss? Because I really have to pee all of a sudden.
No, just join us on Thursday for Smoky Mountain and join us for the Friday Night Spot show where we will be watching Maple Leaf Gardens January 17th, 1957.
And that's going to be the end of the show. And if I was in Texas right now, I'd piss on Trae for saying that really slowly. Take care. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.